I'm Anastasia Chatzka. I'm a fashion designer, pattern maker, and sewing educator, and I'm so happy you're here sewing along with me today. Today on Sewing Anastasia, we are going to dive into adding fullness to sleeves through the slash and spread method. For one sleeve, we're going to add fullness to the top, and for the other sleeve, we are going to add fullness to the bottom. Now these patterns look so crazy, and you're probably wondering, how are we going to get to this shape? How do you even make that shape? Is it just an arbitrary shape that you're drawing? Well, it's not. So follow along, and I'm going to show you exactly how to create both of these sleeves. Today, I'm going to be creating these sleeves starting with my sloper sleeve, which we made a few weeks ago. So if you've been following along, you've probably seen that video. If not, make sure you check it out. Also, you don't have to have a sloper sleeve. This could be an existing sleeve to a pattern that you already have at home in your sewing room. So as long as it has some sort of basic sleeve, we can trace that and then we can create these sleeves from it. So grab your pattern pieces and let's start pattern drafting. So I've got all my supplies out. I've got my paper, scissors, my 2-inch ruler, my marker, but you should be using pencil, my tape, my French curve, and my pattern weight. So now I am all set to start. So the first thing we want to do is trace out the sleeve that you're using as your base sleeve to develop the pattern. So I'm going to place my sleeve in the middle of my paper, I'm going to weight it down, and I'm going to trace it out. I'm only going to trace down about 3 or 4 inches here because I'm not making a full long sleeve. You obviously totally could. You're going to do the same thing we're doing. You're just going to continue all the way to the bottom. So now that I've got this traced out, I can remove my sleeve. And now I need to determine how long do I want my sleeve length. We're going to be measuring from the underarm point here down. I'm going to be marking 3 inches. So I'm going to measure from my underarm seam down to 3. And I'm going to do this on both sides. And now that I have it marked at 3 on both sides, I can go ahead and connect these lines. Okay, so that is how big my sleeve is going to be. So the first one I'm going to do is going to have the fullness here at the bottom. So we need to open it up. So what we want to do is draw some slash lines in it. They can be totally arbitrary, or you can go ahead and make them very symmetrical, up to you. I'm going to go ahead and put a line down center front, and then I'm going to mark some 2-inch lines out from center front. And I'm going to do this on both sides of the sleeve here. Excellent. So now we have all of our lines marked on the pattern, and now we can go ahead and cut it out. Okay, so now your sleeve should look something like this. It's basically the top of your sloper sleeve, or the sleeve you're working from, and then we have some slash lines in it. Now we want to get a new piece of paper. Actually, let me get a white piece of paper for you. Okay, so now we can see the contrast here real good. So what we're going to do is be slashing up to the top of the sleeve. So we're gonna cut up to here. We're just gonna cut on all of these lines right here. And when we cut, we need to cut to the very, very tippy edge of it. Otherwise, it won't open up properly for us. So go as far as you can without actually cutting it off. So now we have all of these slash lines in it, and it's gonna allow us to open it up. Look at this. We can open up our sleeve as wide as we want. We could actually bring it all the way over here. And if you did that, you'd want to put more slash lines in it, so that way it's really smooth when it opens up. But I'm just gonna go ahead and pull it about halfway open here. I'm gonna trace it again on the pink paper. So we are gonna open this up about halfway. And then you can either weight it or tape it. So what I like to do is start at the center. I'm gonna go ahead and tape this down. And now I can decide how much I want to open these up going forward. Now you can measure in between these and keep these the same distance. You can go ahead and do a bigger one here, smaller here, and get smaller as you go out. You could keep them even distances between the slashes as well. So right now I'm gonna keep my center slash at about 4 inches. And now let's measure over here and see what this is, because this looks pretty good. So now I'm gonna do 2 inches, and then I'm gonna tape down this next piece. And then let's go over here and do 2 more inches. And then for the last one, I'm just gonna do a 1/2 inch. So I did 2 inches, 2 inches, and then a 1/2 inch. And now I'm gonna take these measurements and I'm gonna replicate them on the other side. So the distances that we're creating are the opening in between the pieces of paper. And this is gonna give us a beautiful flounce for our arm, for our sleeve. And then the nice part is we still have our armhole to sew in here, so it's nice and fitted. So now after you have it slashed and spread open as much or as little as you would like, this is the fun part about designing clothing. You really get to choose what you want it to look like. You're gonna go ahead and retrace it. So the underarm seam stays the same, and then the top of the sleeve here as well. But you'll notice now that we're going to have all these little like bumps in here that we have to smooth out. I like to go ahead and mark the bottom of each one of these original sleeve pieces. Excellent. So at this point, it should look something like this for you. So now what we're going to do is remove the one that we slashed. And that just becomes garbage. Okay, so now you can see we have a bit of a sleeve here. So now what we need to do is take some rulers and smooth this out. So this here is the top of our sleeve. And then over here, this is going to be the back of our sleeve. And this is the front. And we are just going to smooth these lines out. There we go. So now that looks nice and smooth. And now down here, we basically need to connect the dots and make sure you're using your ruler so it ends up nice and smooth. Excellent. And here we have our sleeve. We have our nice full sleeve at the bottom opening of the arm here. So this here is the bottom opening of the arm, and it's gonna give us a nice flutter. And depending on the fabric you sewed out of, it could drape a lot or it could drape a little if you're using a stiffer fabric. So now let's cut it out. Here we go. And now we have our beautiful flutter sleeve. I also want to add that you want to go back and make sure you're marking your notches for the back, notches for the front, and your notch for the top center of the sleeve. So that way, when you're putting it into your outfit, it's going to set in nicely. If you're enjoying this pattern drafting video so far, make sure you subscribe to Sew Anastasia and hit the notification bell so you know when all the new videos come out. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for watching. Now let's get back to pattern drafting. For our second sleeve design, we're gonna start with the same process. We're gonna trace out the top of our sleeve. I've measured 3 inches down and I've put my line connecting the two across the bottom. So essentially I have a short sleeve here. Now I just taped together the other one I had because, well, why not? Let's reuse, recycle, right? I just flipped it over. And now when we cut, we're gonna cut from the top of the sleeve down. So now we're cutting down to the hem of the sleeve essentially. So we need to cut downwards to open it up the opposite way. Now we really just need half of this sleeve. So you know what? Let's go ahead and just chop off half of this sleeve. And it really doesn't matter which half because we're gonna open it up a lot. So now what we're gonna do is cut these other 3 lines. So we're cutting down to the hem of the sleeve. And again, you're just gonna stop right before the bottom of it, making sure you're not cutting all the way through it. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is place the bottom of the opening at center front right here, and I am going to tape it down. Oh, by the way, I've got a giant piece of paper and I have folded it in half. So we're using half of the sleeve and we have folded our paper in half. So we're gonna go ahead and line up the sleeve, the tip right here at the fold. Okay, notice I've also got a gap up here for the top of my sleeve. So this up here is where we're gonna be creating the puff. And now what we're gonna do is open this up. The more you open it up, the fuller it's going to be across your arm, right? So figure out how big you want your puff. I'm gonna go for max puff. My other one wasn't super max, so this one, let's try a new one and let's go super max. Also, to get a nice distance at the top to make an extra puff over your shoulder, you're gonna want to add to the top of it up here. Last time I did 2 inches, and this time I wanna try 4 or 5. Let's see what that looks like. Actually, let's just go wild and let's do 6. Let's create an extremely exaggerated puff sleeve. Can you guys hear the cat? The cat wants to get in on this. Okay, so now we have a mark way up here. What do we need to do? We need to blend it into the bottom of our sleeve down here. So just roughly, I'm just gonna draw real quick just so you can see. So we wanna get this coming back down into our sleeve. And then we still have an underarm. We still have that down here. And then this is the underarm of the sleeve right here. You agree, Iris? She agrees. Okay, and this here is the sleeve opening, so we wanna trace that out. And now what we wanna do is blend all of these together with a ruler, and we're gonna have the new shape of our sleeve. I know, it looks a little crazy, but I promise you, it's going to turn out fantastic. Nice healthy curve. Okay, let's remove the pink sleeve here. Remember, it started like this. I cut it open, I added to the top, and then I blended into the underarm seam here, and then traced out the remainder of it. Wow, is this looking weird? It's like an anteater of some sort. But I promise you, it's a sleeve. We're not drawing animals. I'm gonna just even out some of these lines here that look a little rough. Excellent, so now let's cut it out on the fold. So we're gonna leave it folded. I'm going to weight it, and now let's cut it out with our paper scissors. Let's open it up. Check it out. This is our new sleeve. This looks pretty crazy, doesn't it? So I'm gonna cut it out of fabric and let's compare it to the other two that we already have. So let's go over what we just created. The first one we did, we added the fullness to the bottom. You'll see I cut it out here, and our pattern should look like this. So all of our fullness is in the bottom of the pattern. So if we put it on our dress form, let's give it a pin. You're gonna notice it has a nice fullness at the bottom here, so it really kind of flutters out. Now, if you wanted more movement down here, that means when you opened it up, you should open it up even more. Put more slashes in it. And it's almost gonna start to look like a circle when you open it up. And again, this is a stiff fabric, so it doesn't have a ton of drape to it. If you were to use the chiffon or charmeuse, it would have a lot more drape to it. So that is our sleeve with the fullness at the bottom. And then here is our pattern for it. Pretty crazy, right, how this works? I think it's so cool. So now if we move on to our next sleeve where we add the fullness to the top, let's check it out. So the pattern I had originally where I added 2 inches to the top of the sleeve looks like this. And then I added 6 inches to the top of the sleeve. So different, right? Check this out. So what do you think these are gonna look like when we sew them up? Well, let's check them out on the dress one. So this one here has the 2-inch extra at the top of the sleeve. And then this one has 6 inches. So you can really see how this one pops up way more because we added the 6 inches, but it doesn't actually go 6 inches up higher. And then this one just has a nice little puff that comes out, and this one just has an added 2 inches. So hopefully you can really tell what happens when you add that distance to the top of the pattern. Again, this one over here is the 2 inches, and then the one over here is the 6 inches. So big, right? This pattern looks so crazy. It looks like I'm playing some Nintendo game or something. Can you picture it going across the screen, having to shoot it, right? So you guys, this is how you add fullness to the top of the sleeve and then add fullness to the bottom of the sleeve with the slash and spread method. So it is so easy to change the sleeves that you already have on a design. You just gotta know how, right? So follow along next time you wanna change the sleeves on your garment. And remember, you can use your sloper sleeve to create these, or you can use any plain sleeve that you have in any pattern laying around that you want to change the sleeve on. So the design possibilities are endless as always. It just depends what you want to create. Now these are just a few ideas. You could take this and go crazy with it. What would happen if you added 2 feet to the top of this? I bet it would look wild. It would look like a giant runway sleeve, right? Maybe you should try it out and make it out of a nice stiff fabric so it holds the shape to it. Or if you made it out of a really flowy fabric, it would kind of start to drape down and kind of create this like Lego mutton sleeve. So the possibilities are endless. Don't be limited to what's in the design book. Go ahead and go crazy once you understand these concepts. Pattern drafting is just so fun. I love it. Thanks so much for watching Sew Anastasia today. If you have any questions on creating these sleeves, leave it down below and I will get back with you as soon as I can. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, give it some applause, and leave a comment down below because I love hearing your thoughts on the videos or what new videos you would like to see. What other kind of sleeves or bodices or skirts or dresses, what else would you like to see pattern drafted? Also, don't forget to follow Sew Anastasia on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and TikTok, and all those social media websites. So that way we can stay connected and creative together. And if you haven't already subscribed to Sew Anastasia on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get all the new videos. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for watching today. Also, if you'd like to take some pattern drafting classes from me, I teach them in my design studio in Chicago, Illinois, or you can take them virtually. So make sure you check that out at sewanastasia.com. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.